Oh, you can just hear the disappointment in Tony Durbin's voice. The 33 car damaged fuel intake when he hit the wall. Alexis Rainsford coming into the pit lane. A damaged fuel intake on that car means he'll have to retire from the event, and therefore he won't get 2 titles in a row. Ashby, Parker Jr., and Redlick, and Parker Jr. was sideways coming into the pit lane. Did you see that? Yeah, I was wondering if it was just me. I wasn't going to say anything unless you said something about that, because that was weird. I thought I was seeing things for a minute. Damian Snyder is in 5th. Snyder may be able to overtake all those cars in the pit lane, and he could put himself as high as 2nd. I'm not sure if he'll be able to put himself in the lead. He might be able to, though. Depends on when they come out. 27 cars down and away. And there she is, coming out of the pit lane. And she will hold on to the lead. Wow. Indeed, wow. Alexis Rainsford holds on to 1st. Coming into the pits in the lead and comes out with the lead. She's had a much easier time negotiating some of these back markers around, and I think that's probably what's put her in such a commanding position. Franz Redlick will be 2nd. Ashby 3rd, and I see Parker Jr. 4th, Snyder 5th. These cars are pretty close together. Yeah, the helicopter right at the bottom of where the helicopter's range is where Ashby is. Ashby's not that far behind Redlick, even though we're focusing on the 65 right now. Ashby's really not far away from him. There's Ashby. There's JP Jr. in the yellow car. That yellow car with the blue numbers on the side. Why on earth they did that, I don't know. And Damian Snyder's right there as they come down the hill. Around that wide sweeping turn that Benny Dwyer used to make so many passes on. It's not even really a passing zone usually, but Dwyer always liked to pass there. And coming down the long straight, or one of the long straights anyway, around another turn, and coming into the final coming in the final 2 turns, and down the front straightaway again. On board, Damian Snyder. Of course, do you think they'll get a new color scheme next year? Because of course, Walmart I think has a new logo or something like that. Coming into the first 2 turns, JP Jr. was in there awful quick, and he's off. John Parker Jr. is off, and he was in 4th. You called that. He just went in there way too fast. Well, he's gotten it away okay. Must mean he doesn't have any suspension damage or anything. I think he's got a tire down. I was looking at that car, and it was leaning a little bit. I think he may have a right rear tire that went down. But either way, he drove it in there too fast. Right rear tire down, I know. Gary Edwards has resurrected his race. He's moved all the way up to 5th. Other notables I should point out, Johnny Ada is in 7th, Leonid Roderick is in 8th, Ian Cooper is in 9th. There is Cooper. Lewis Kingston. Oh, Mike Whitmore's off. Lewis Kingston is running inside. I believe Lewis Kingston is in 10th. Last time by, I believe he was. And Arto Kakkonen is in 11th. I believe that's the case anyway. Leonid Roderick, Ian Cooper. We should see Kingston. There's Kingston in 10th. Kakkonen is in 11th. Kingston, that blue car you saw in the background. The car right behind him was Arto Kakkonen. It's a silver and red car. Vodafone will not be sponsoring Arto. And Johnny Ada's into the pits from 7th. Stephanie McGlynn is in 12th. Then it is Adrian Devereaux and Alan Hodges. Adrian Devereaux has been an unsung hero of the race. There's John Parker. He's in 6th, actually. He only lost 2 spots. Not a bad deal. Oh, absolutely not. Usually, but that's kind of odd, though. He spun off the track, and some of these guys that have spun off have lost, 10, 15 spots. But I think it's because it's so late in the race, or so late in the run, that he doesn't lose that many places. But he does lose as much time as everyone else did. And absolutely, that's the most important part, is how much time he lost, and especially if there ends up being no yellow flags in the entire race. And, what are we seeing here? Ashby taking 2nd. Oh. If Gazelda Ashby took 2nd right here, right as some of the other mayhem was going on around the racetrack. So Ashby, very clinical pass into 2nd. There's Alexis Rainsford, closing in on her teammate, Julia Nosova. Now, that one car is all over the place there. When she went off early on, I think that damaged something, and that one car's not been the same. And Julia Nosova, of course, went off on the during the first round of stops. Well, stayed out too long, I think. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Julia Nosova, set the car up for a much tighter track. And, of course, that's not really worked out to her favor. She's been sliding all over the place. Alexis Rainsford, on the other hand, had a vastly different setup in that car. Damian Snyder and Franz Redlich. Oh, little contact there between those two cars as they close up on the back marker of Dale Roswell. Kind of hard to say back marker when he was leading earlier on, but he is, I believe he's 3 laps off the pace. And he's getting in the way. Well, he has 2 choices, block Redlich or block Snyder. And you see, now he's moving over, giving Damian the optimal racing line, and that's really what you should be doing right there. That part of the track he was in was just 2 lanes, it wasn't 3, so he had no choice. Keniston in. Now this is interesting because we called Leon Keniston, we were watching him because of his pit strategy, and when he comes into the pits, and it's not even been 10 laps yet since he was last in. I think he's got some problems with that car there. Here's Alan Hodges. Hodges could be the first non-American champion. Of course, right behind Alan Hodges is running in 12th, is Marcus Leonard, the Canadian. Marcus Leonard, of course, brought many a smile to many a people in the paddock with his paint schemes that he puts on the car. And Alan Hodges from Cardiff, Wales, could be the first non-American champion. He currently sits in 12th. Kakkonen's right in front of him, but right behind him is Leonard, and right behind Leonard is Howard. At least I think Howard's on the lead lap still. There's Kakkonen in car number 14. Alto having a pretty good run right there. Oh, Gary Edwards. Hello there. He's off again. That was a big hit. Has he stalled it? No, he's got it moving again, but there's some damage on that car, I think. He's getting away awfully slow. Arto will move up a spot, inside the top 10 now. Move up to 9th. Arto Kakkonen will be 9th. Stephanie McGlynn is in 10th. Then it'll be a battle between Lewis Kingston and Adrian Devereaux for 11th. Kingston needs to stay ahead of Alan Hodges and needs to stay ahead of him by a couple of positions if he wants to take 3rd in the championship. Of course, Kingston needs both Alexis Rainsford and Leonid Roddick to go off and drop pretty much way down if he wants to have a shot at the title. There's McGlynn, who has managed to, she's managed to get many a car torn up. Not of her own doing, I think we should state. Definitely. Not most of the time, not of her own doing, but most of the time. I think at one point of the season, it was exactly 66% DNF rate for McGlynn, which is 2 out of 3, and that's not good. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. And the weirder part with it was, of course, none of it. Very few of those were her own fault. Somebody's been off over there. Can't tell who it is. I think it was Walker. Now, Walker looks like he just ran wide because there's no damage on the car. I think he did. I think he just ran it way too wide. He didn't spin it, though. Walker's been off the pace, and that's been surprising. He got into that first lap tussle with Anthony Evans, though, Lance. I think that's the whole deal with that. Now, you're probably right. I see some right front damage on that car. I was going to wonder where that came from, but now that you've reminded me, of course, Leonid Roddick won here 5 times at this racetrack, and going for number 6. Benny Dwyer once said that Leonid Roddick will be good at this racetrack only. Well, that was probably one of Benny Dwyer's famously wrong predictions, because Leonid Roddick has won just about everything everywhere else. Lap 32 of 48, Alexis Rainsford in the lead. Nobody around her, and it looks like qualifying. Probably, because there's no cars in front or behind her for quite a ways, and that should really help her if she decides to ease up on the pace a little bit, and she doesn't have to worry about back markers, or she can just Oh, Parker's off again. He's having a rough day, isn't he? He's getting a little bit over his own head. Oh, Arto's off again! Oh, dear me, Arto. You drove it in there too fast, mate. This isn't one of those sports cars you're used to driving where you can brake it that late. He's got it going alright. He almost stalled it, but no, I guess not. Arto Kekkonen having a surprising adventure around this racetrack. The car has been pretty loose, and of course Arto got he's going to be running for Rookie of the Year next year, and a lot of people are looking forward to a supposed battle, what people think is going to be an epic battle between Arto Kekkonen and David Krikorian. Of course, Krikorian did not qualify for this race, and that, what people think is going to be, could be Arto's saving grace, is Krikorian's inconsistency, whereas Kekkonen is pretty smooth usually, but just not today. There's Lewis Kingston. He's going to be running in, what, 8th? Of course, Stephanie McGlynn's gotten around Ian Cooper now. And, of course, Adrian Devereaux in that orange and purple 96 car right there. There's Devereaux just sneaking into the picture. Alan Hodges. Of course, Kingston needs to be watching that red car in his rearview mirror, and he wants to keep Devereaux behind him. He also wants to chase down Ian Cooper and get around him. Because Lewis, he wants a championship. Oh, Ian is off. Kurt Walker's off. Here's a replay. Yeah, Ian drove it in there too fast. And Kurt Walker's got problems because he stalled it. Walker took it wide a couple of laps ago, and now he's finally just lost it and gone off. The Arla champion, Walker's not exactly coated himself in glory this weekend. That entire team hasn't covered themselves in glory this weekend. The Gazelle Racing team, which was recently repurchased by Arthur Thomas, has not had much in the way of luck. There's Adrien Devereaux, the Frenchman, who, if he keeps this run up, could very well be in line for the 67 car next year. But Devereaux, oh, Palmer's off. I was going to say Devereaux, the ROL champion. He could be in line for a Master Cup Series drive within the next 2 years. In fact, I would be very surprised if he wasn't in the Master Cup Series in the next 2 years, because Devereaux is fantastic. Well, he's probably one of the best new talents that CM's brought up. Well, Alexis Rainsford's in the lead. 34 laps to complete. I think it's time for us to step out for a little break.